to talk to you about whether you want to go fast or whether you want to go slow as you consider the possibility of starting a new law firm, but the risk of getting stuck in a planning phase forever. If you're anything like me, you're a planner. I don't like to jump out of the airplane and hope my parachute's going to open without making sure that I've folded it just right many times. I've got a lot of friends that run awesome law firms that are maybe a little bit different than me. They're a little bit more of a, take this job and shove it type of person where, they didn't like what happened at work one day and they grabbed their stuff and they left and they hung their shingle. And it's a great story. And, a lot of these people are super successful. There's certainly nothing wrong with going fast, but, I'm the cautious type. I went slow. I knew at the time when I began my journey of considering the possibility of launching my own law firm that I knew very little about what I needed to know. And I think I've mentioned in the past that I never intended to start my own law firm. I was very happy at my old job, but it was, one day around Thanksgiving, I was at the car wash and I was playing around with my phone and I found the Purple podcast app and I started to listen to all these amazing podcasts on launching and running your own law firms. And I just fell down the rabbit hole thinking, this isn't really for me, but I'm gonna use this knowledge to help my wife's law firm get better. And then, there was a period in time where I said, actually, maybe this is for me, potentially theoretically, but I don't really have the impetus to make a move because, my job at the big law firm is pretty good. And then I got a little bit more to a middle ground where like, maybe it is for me. Maybe I should be thinking about this. And then there was a moment where the light came on. And I said that this is absolutely for me. It's absolutely relevant to my practice area. I can serve the same kind of clients. I can have a very sophisticated practice outside of the protection of the big law firm. And I was taking in all this content. I couldn't get enough of it, right? And I listened to hundreds of hours of podcasts until I was sure that I figured out, what are all the unknowns? I have always thought that Don Rumsfeld's quote about there being, known knowns, known unknowns, and unknown unknowns, was very apt, because I wanted to figure out, what are all the things that I needed to know, and to the greatest extent possible, I wanted to find out, what are the unknowns that I can know about? What are the known unknowns? And I took a long time listening to all these podcasts, hundreds of hours, until I heard enough people talking about the same thing again and again and again. And then I really felt like I had kind of the size of the challenge, measured up, right? It's a little bit like performing legal research where, you're on Lexus or you're on Westlaw or whatever you use, and you research until you start seeing the same authorities, the same case law, and you get to a point where you just know in your gut that you think that you've seen enough for what's out there, and, anything further, you'd be going beyond the point of diminished returns. So I took a lot of time to plan. But the one piece of advice that I would give you, okay, in addition to deciding, am I someone who's going to go fast or I'm going to go slow, is if you are going to go slow like me and you're going to be methodical, you need to commit to a date where you are going to make a decision to either make a change and leave your current job, start that new law firm or not. Because you could plan for years. You could plan for 5 years, 10 years. It could go on forever. And you may never make a decision, right? Having a point, maybe you say it's a year from now where I'm going to make a go or a no-go decision, is very important for you. Otherwise, you could just marinate in all this interesting content forever. One thing that really grabbed me from Seth Godin's book, The Icarus Deception, was when he said that finding someone to correct your typos is easy, but finding somebody to say go is hard, right? And that's really important. If you are like I was a couple years ago, a big law firm partner, pretty happy with my arrangement. I like the firm, I like the people, but I just felt like something wasn't quite right, and I wasn't sure that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Um, you need to understand that nobody but you is going to say go, okay, is going to make the decision for you to actually move forward. For me, I'll never forget the moment when I made the decision to start my own firm. I was with my wife on a little getaway in Tempe, Arizona, and I was talking to a branding company that was one of many people out there that wanted me to sign up with them and have them create my website, and to launch my marketing campaign. And at the time, I had vetted a bunch of companies. I listened to a lot of different pitches. I wasn't particularly moved by the companies that wanted to try to tell me to go down a search engine optimization route. I wasn't as excited about the idea of trying to use the internet to find strangers who are going to hire me. Instead, I was more taken by this branding company that said, you've got a lot of contacts in the industry. Let's not focus on that expensive, and complicated and unknown game of how to, get attention through Google just yet. Let's focus on getting your message out to the people that you know, staying top of mind to them. So I did my homework, I did my vetting. I found the company that I wanted to build my website that was going to kind of launch, the way that I was going to start to try to market my new business. And they're actually the people that helped me shoot my first videos. If you go to, www.buildchicagolaw.com, you'll notice there's about 20 videos that are different from all the rest, where I'm sitting in an office, there's a cameraman, and, I had makeup on, and I had the videos professionally shot before I learned how to do what I'm doing right now, which is create them myself. So this was the company. I found the people that were the ones who I wanted to hire, but I had to make that go or no go decision. I was sitting there in Tempe, Arizona with my wife on speakerphone, talking to this company, and I said, it's go time. I'm not sure when I'm going to leave my current firm, but I made a decision that we were going to build a website. We were going to shoot some videos. We were going to create the content necessary for the website. And these people who I hired, I can't remember the exact amount, but I think it was something like $7,000 is what they wanted me to pay them. And to me, it wasn't like the most earth-shattering amount of money, but, with 4 young kids, and lots of expenses in my life, it felt like an enormous commitment, right? If I was going to part with $7,000, then I was leaving the phase where I was going slow and researching and trying to find the, all the unknown unknowns and to triangulate all that. And I said, we're going to do this. I'm going to spend the money and we're going to build it. And I don't know when I'm going to leave my firm, but I'm committing to build this thing. And, there's no reason to build this thing if I'm not going to use it. Okay. And so, whether you're going to go slow or fast, the one thing I want you to remember from this video is you have to make a decision at some point. You got to make that go or no go decision. And if you're early in your journey of thinking about these issues, maybe think about setting 365 days from now is the day where you're either going to make the decision to go or not. If you decide to go, some vision planning is essential. At the time when I first launched my firm, I made some mistakes about not doing enough vision planning about where I wanted to be 5 years from now, about not building out a hypothetical organizational chart to see where I would sit. Am I doing legal work? Am I managing people who are doing legal work? Am I thinking about business development, or is that someone who I'm going to hire? I didn't do the sort of vision planning that I wish that I would have before I made the go decision, right? There's a lot of reason why people who, if you're like I was several years ago, if you've got a pretty good gig and you're not sure, you want to start thinking about that vision planning. There's absolutely nothing wrong with going slow, right? Even, coming up with an organizational chart, doing some of this, trying to peer ahead 5 years or 10 years. That's the cloth that I'm cut from. I'm not just going to quit my job, hang a shingle, and hope my parachute opens and hope that I don't wreck my career and bring about financial ruin, for my wife and my 4 children. So it's cool to go slow, but you're going to have to make that decision at some point. Next up in the series, I'm going to cover, 2 essential pieces of advice that I would give to anyone if they've decided to make the go or the no-go decision. And if you're looking for an action item, the one thing that you may want to consider now is, are you going to go fast or are you going to go slow? If you're going to go slow, do you have the courage to set a cutoff date for yourself? Either way, you do yourself a big favor to begin to envision what is the sort of firm and what is the sort of life that you want to have 5 years or 10 years from now, because that vision planning as you're thinking about the go or no go decision is absolutely worthwhile.